welcome to Thought for the Week. Our thoughts this week are about refugees and discrimination, and interestingly the programme and the topics for Thought for the Week were fixed some time ago, and it's interesting that this has now proved to be very, very topical with the events that you will be aware of happening in the news in the last week. Before I talk about my own faith position and what I believe as Christians our position should be regarding refugees and discrimination, I thought I'd give you a little bit of the legal background. So after the Second World War, the nations got together and created the United Nations. And within the United Nations, under the auspices of the United Nations, the countries signed up to various conventions, international conventions. The idea behind this was to create a framework which would keep people safe and which would prevent the horrors of another world war and prevent what happened in Nazi Germany happening in another country. So there was a recognition that each individual person, me, you, ordinary people all over the world, have a right to various things. Now I will let you research what your human rights are in your own time, but it's fascinating reading, and it's fascinating to think that we each are given these human rights, and the countries who've signed up to the convention have agreed to respect and work within those human rights. Now there is a right to escape your country of origin, your country where you are a national, and go to another country and claim asylum and seek to be a refugee. And under the convention, which we signed up to in 1951, a person is a refugee if, owing to a well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion, is outside the country of their nationality and is unable, owing to such fear, to return to it. So each country has a system under which and a process whereby you can claim asylum, and you are given the status of refugee, if you have been successful in your claim for asylum. So it doesn't take much imagination to understand how people come to leave their country of origin, to find that the way they want to live is suddenly not acceptable or even illegal in their country of origin. It appears that in 2020, 2/3 of the world's refugees came from 5 countries, from Syria, Venezuela, Afghanistan, South Sudan and Myanmar. So these are countries where there are extremist regimes in charge, and so people who are maybe not of a particular faith, or who are not of a particular nationality, or who have ethnic roots elsewhere, have found themselves being persecuted. And so those people are able to flee that persecution, to leave that country, to escape the country however they can, and to apply for asylum. There's no such thing as an illegal way to leave a country if you are escaping persecution in pursuit of your human rights. So you can travel and you have the right to travel however you can to get to another country to claim asylum. In the UK, around 88% of people coming from Syria, Afghanistan, the countries I've mentioned, and some of the other war-torn countries in the world will be successful in their applications for asylum. So we'll be able to stay as refugees in this country. Now I wonder why this matters to people of faith. Now it matters hugely for people not just of the Christian faith, but of other faith backgrounds as well. Read you a passage from Matthew's Gospel in the Bible which will help you understand. So this is a story that Jesus told about the separation of the sheep and the goats, and he talks about the king returning in a blaze of glory. So this is sort of an image of God returning at the end of all time. And so this is what Jesus said. He said, When he finally arrives, blazing in beauty with all his angels with him, the Son of Man will take his place on his glorious throne. Then the nations will be arranged before him, and he will sort out the people, much as the shepherd sorts out sheep and goats, putting the sheep to his right and the goats to his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Enter, you who are blessed by my Father. Take what's coming to you in this kingdom. It has already been yours since the foundation of the world. And here's why. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me a drink. I was homeless and you gave me a room. I was shivering and you gave me clothes. I was sick and you stopped to visit. I was in prison and you came." The sheep will say to him, "Master, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry or feed you, thirsty and give you a drink? And when did we ever see you sick or in prison and come to visit you?" Then the king will say, "I'm telling a solemn truth. Whenever you did one of these things for someone who is overlooked or ignored, that was me, and you did it for me." Then he will turn to the goats, to the ones on his left, and say, "Get away, worthless goats. You're good for nothing but the fires of hell. And why? Because I was hungry and you gave me no meal. I was thirsty and you gave me no drink. I was homeless and you gave me no bed. I was shivering and you gave me no clothes. Sick and in prison and you never visited me." Then the goats are going to say to the master, "Master, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry or thirsty, or homeless or shivering, or sick or in prison, and didn't help?" And he will tell them, "I tell you a solemn truth. Whenever you failed to do one of these things to someone who was being overlooked or ignored, that was me, and you failed to do it to me." For Christians, we serve Jesus Christ in the way that we serve one another. Throughout the Bible, there are many references to the importance of caring for the poor, for those who are vulnerable in our society, for strangers and foreigners. And so for Christians, care for refugees is very important. It's a very important part of our faith, recognising their vulnerability, recognising that those who are refugees will have escaped persecution and some terrible horrors. So my challenge to you today, I don't know if you have anyone in the school community who is a refugee, anyone who has sought asylum, don't know if you know anyone who is in that place, but to think about people who are in need of our help and to think about how we can serve and support them, knowing that in many cases it could easily be us in different circumstances. If we were born in a different place, in a different time, we may well also find ourselves in need of help and care from others. So I wish you a happy day. I wish you a good time thinking and reflecting on what it is we can do as individuals, as a school community, and as a nation to offer people in need of help and support, the help and support that we would offer Jesus Christ if we found him in our presence and in our midst, starving, thirsty, hungry, or in prison.